Oh,
Okay,
hello. Yes,
I just
welcome.
no, just wanted to make sure it would work, and then we can cut it later.
Oh, I asked Brian if he would write me some podcast music.
Ooh.
So that will be a to be added, hopefully soon.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But yeah, okay.
I love that. Okay, insert Brian podcast music here.
90s pop / 2000s pop theme.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to Millennial Mom Thoughts.
On today's episode, we are discussing who are we? What is this podcast? And why are we podcasting? But first, a dramatic reenactment of a text message conversation to help us start to answer these questions. This conversation took place on Monday, June 9th, 2025 at approximately 4:05 p.m. Do you want to play?
Yeah. That's me.
Yeah.
To Helen.
That's me.
That's you. Have you ever made a podcast?
I made a podcast during COVID for my creative writing class.
I just felt like you would know how to make one. I'm toying with the idea of making one, but then I talk myself out of it because who would actually care to listen to anything I have to say? Do I even want to listen to what I have to say?
I would. I also have about 18 ideas for a podcast. Do it.
I feel like doing it solo is ... boring. I need to talk things through.
Talk to me.
With someone else. Come make a podcast with me.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. What are we podcasting about? LOL.
Parenting and education, surrounding social media and screen time, attention spans, mental health, blah, blah, blah. I just haven't been able to get The Anxious Generation book by Jonathan Haidt, all things surrounding it off my mind, and I just want to talk about it.
Love it. I'm in.
And scene.
So, you're Jordan, I'm Helen. Let's first talk about how we first met, how we got to know each other. Can you hear my cat meowing in the background, by the way?
I did hear a cat just now.
Oh,
that's all right. It's
okay.
cabbage.
Everyone is cabbage.
Meet cabbage.
Yep. But anyway, do you remember when we first met?
Well, I think I remember the first time, and I think it was out in the parking lot at near Bertha, because, or at least I knew of you. So, okay, so to back things up, we worked together, but really didn't get to know each other that well until after we didn't work together anymore. I would say band in a way brought us together because of my husband, your soon-to-be husband. At the time, we're working.
Not the same person.
Correct. Oh, that would have gotten real weird. Let me add names. My husband, Brian, your then soon-to-be husband, current or was boyfriend, Mitch. And they were friends, they were buddies, and then because of them, we got to interact with one another, and then obviously the rest is history.
Yeah.
I do think it was in the parking lot at some staff food truck thing. I don't remember exactly, but
yeah, no, that sounds right. I would just add that I really first heard of you through Brian. I knew Brian first.
Yes.
And then I found out you were pregnant because Brian had shared that someone else suspected you were pregnant because you were not drinking at some summer barbecue. So my first impression of you was oh, Jordan's this party girl, but she wasn't drinking, so she's pregnant, and that is all I knew of you. Turns out that was not necessarily.
Fun fact, I don't drink, and so it was this. Why is this one person not drinking? It doesn't. I'm not enjoyable when I'm drinking because I feel miserable.
But it was true that you were pregnant.
But it was true,
with your son, and now you have 2 kids.
Now I have 2.
Do you want to introduce yourself further as both a mom and as an education professional?
Yes, I will make this the hopefully least boring intro possible. So have two kids now. I have Camden, who is 5.5, and then Lily, who is 1.5. Um, and married to Brian, as has already been established, and have lived in Illinois since 2017, originally from Carmel, Indiana. And as an educator, I became a high school counselor in 2011 in Indiana and then worked there in a high school for 5 years. Moved over here. We'll get to that part later. Thank you to Brian. And then started at a high school at East Peoria High School, and I was there for a year. And then I was 2 years at Morton High School. So was a high school counselor for 8 years. And then when Camden was born, I paused, but I still wanted to work with high school students. And so now, since 2021, or I guess it's my fifth school year, I do academic coaching. I call it academic success coaching with junior high and high school students just independently. So I'm still actively, in the education space. I'm not working in a building anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of it.
Awesome.
Very.
I never know how to introduce myself either. I feel like there's so many things, but I will likewise try
Yeah.
to. So I am also a mom now of a 5-month-old, 5 months and 2 days. As of today, Violet, she's
Oh,
amazing. And then I am likewise in education. My started as a high school English teacher. I started teaching, I guess I graduated undergrad in 2016. I taught at Peoria High School for a bit. And then while teaching there, I got accepted to grad school, what I thought was going to be the grad school program of my dreams, moved out to Indiana, studied for a couple of years, but just realized how much I missed having my own classroom. So moved back to my hometown. In Illinois, which is, of course, then where I worked for a handful of years and met my husband, my now husband, Mitch. We were
not
colleagues
Brian.
for a bit there. Not Brian, no, but Brian was there for our first like not yet date, but like the first time
Oh,
we got food together after a
I don't
Prairie
think I
Winds
even knew
rehearsal. Oh
that.
my gosh, yeah, Granite City, R.I.P. Where
Oh,
Brian
yeah.
was like a known figure there too. Like the waiter was always like, "Oh, Brian," he knew his order, some chicken sandwich, maybe something.
Yep, yep.
But they also had cauliflower wings, so that was amazing. Um, anyway, that's a complete tangent.
Yes.
Taught high school English language arts while then pursuing my PhD at Illinois State University in English Studies. And now I left my high school teaching job the last year of the PhD so that I could finish my dissertation, get some experience teaching at the higher ed level, and really realized my passion for working with pre-service teachers or teacher candidates to teach future teachers. So that's a bit of what I'm doing now at ISU, but then I'm also working as a writer where I get to kind of promote some of the really cool research and teaching happening in our College of Education. And I'm also working adjunct at another liberal arts university in the area as well. So I'm living the adjunct kind of cobbling together miscellaneous jobs life right now. But honestly, I love it because that's also giving me time now to be home with Violet multiple days a week as well. So living the dream.
Dr. Plevka-Jones.
Yes, here I am.
I get really excited when I get to call you that. Like, here is my friend, Dr. Plevka-Jones. Have you
Hello.
met her?
Kids call me Dr. PJ. It's pretty adorable.
Oh, I like that.
I like it too.
Yeah, that's a good one. Hmm. I won't start calling you Dr. PJ. I think that would be
That's
weird for
fine.
me, but
That's fine. You can call me Hellcat. No.
yeah, I'll add that. I'll add that to the list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right.
Well,
So that's who we are. What then? What is this podcast, Jordan, that you approached me about creating together?
well, I think I just knew I needed a way to get all of the not very well thought out, sometimes, thoughts in my brain out about something that just felt really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, if this is important to me, it's probably important to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Just this whole new era of parenting in this super screen-filled technology world, but it's also kind of colliding then with our professional lives because of
Mm-hmm.
education and how we see it, in teenagers down the how things have progressed down the road. Like, here's what we're looking to, here's the struggles that our students are facing, which means these are probably the struggles our own children are
Mm-hmm.
going to be facing, and
Mm-hmm.
then kind of how to deal with all of that together. Um, and since we're both millennials, I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the older side of the millennial era.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you are on the younger
Younger, so
side.
yes. Indeed I am. Yep.
Um, so it also just seemed
Yeah.
like a good way to talk about how even my upbringing and
Mm-hmm.
childhood surrounding technology was different than yours, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of how that all works together even now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, even in our notes, which I think it's okay to reference the fact that we took notes
Of
for
course.
trying to make this podcast, but just going through and thinking about how technology has changed from when we were kids to now
Mm-hmm.
adults. Um, I mean, good grief, like kids don't even know what VCRs and
Mm-hmm.
cassette tapes and like that was super cool back when
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid. Going to Blockbuster. A kid doesn't today. They're like, what the heck is a Blockbuster? Is this something that I tap on my iPad? I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
that is. No. So just the major, major changes in technology that have happened just in our own lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
and I know are going to continue to happen. See also AI
Mm-hmm.
later discussion, uh, for our kids, and
Mm-hmm.
how it's just going to keep getting, it feels like, faster and faster. And then how this has an impact on their development,
Mm-hmm.
their mental health, their social interactions.
Mm-hmm.
That so all of those things were just constantly running through my head. And like I had said in our dramatic text reenactment, after reading The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And I think I became kind of a super fan of his because I have sought out every single podcast interview he's done, every news article, every TV interview. Like I'm listening to it all. And then I also read his Substack, um, just to keep getting information, in real time, keep getting information and updates from him because it just keeps
Mm-hmm.
changing. So that's
Yeah.
that's my developing idea for
Mm-hmm.
why we should do a podcast. And I knew that you, being in education and being a fantastic writer, see also your Substack. Um, I mean, I know you have other things other than your Substack, but that was my exposure to
Sure.
your writing, was
Yeah.
through your Substack. But being a mom and then being in
Mm-hmm.
education, I felt like we had a lot that we could discuss together,
Mm-hmm.
even with our different perspectives and different ages. Like, these
Mm-hmm.
are things that we could talk about in a meaningful way
Mm-hmm.
together, and hopefully, I mean, maybe a goal is to help someone else navigate this kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy path that we're all on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That someone might be me.
It's the
No,
same.
but yeah. Yeah, and just everything you said, and as we were kind of putting together our notes, our crazy little Canva doc we've got going on, one thing I kind of saw was just this, through our dual perspectives as folks in education and as parents, as moms, this kind of like past, present, and future kind of came
Yes.
through a lot of our notes. So hopefully through this podcast we're going to be looking back, reminiscing, right, talking about our favorite VHSs and reflecting on kind of our own millennial past, the things we had in common, the things that were different through our different ages, and kind of how we grew up through changing technologies, and then we'll be thinking about the present, kind of engaging and grappling with these present issues we see in our own lives, but also in our students' lives and then in our kids' lives. Because then ultimately, looking ahead, we might use this as a space to envision, right, and advocate for that future that we want, where hopefully we don't continue in this. I don't know what to call it, the decline, the downfall, just the all of the
Scary.
negative things, the scary,
Scary. Yeah.
scary things that I agree that listening to. I think I listened to the audiobook of The Anxious Generation, really brought to light for me, and it's something that, like you, has continued to haunt me, just continued to think about and see even more now in
I
my
feel like
student
I
life.
I notice things more ever.
Mm-hmm.
I did the audiobook too, and then I bought it because
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go back and kind of reread certain
Mm-hmm.
sections, and take notes because that's now what I do for books that feel important to me is I have a Google Doc where I write down
Mm-hmm.
all the, 'cause I just can't remember everything that I read in a book, and so I want to take notes on it. Um, but just all all of the things that I'm noticing now that maybe I didn't notice before or
Mm-hmm.
because of that book, even in my own screen use,
Mm-hmm.
which it's I'm not gonna share my screen time log from my phone, but it's too high. And it's embarrassing enough for me that I'm not going to share it because it's
Ooh.
too high. But I want that to decrease
Yeah.
because it's one thing to say, oh, well, our kids shouldn't be using these devices because they're not good for them. But even though my brain has mostly fully
Mm-hmm.
developed, uh, it's not good for me either. It's not good for
Mm-hmm.
my attention and connection with my own family. Like I
Mm-hmm.
need to be actively seeking out ways to stop using my own phone, my phone, my iPad, as much as I currently am.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because I always feel like I don't have enough time to do all the things
Yeah.
that need to be done on a day-to-day basis. And probably if I thoroughly examined my screen time, I could get back time that I didn't realize I was wasting on scrolling Instagram. Because it's addicting,
Yeah,
as they're
100%.
designed to be.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Um, I think we've started getting into then the why of it all, why we're
Yes.
podcasting. Any other goals for you or things that you hope to get out of this or things you hope to share with others?
Well, just a like a super personal goal is I'm not used to doing a whole lot of
Mm-hmm.
talking. This is honestly slightly uncomfortable for me, so I'm trying to kind of grapple with you can share your thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
feelings out loud. I've done so much of the listener role for, I mean, I would probably say almost my whole life. Not that I'm mute, when I can talk, I can't speak about my thoughts and feelings, but to know that despite how many this actually reaches, this is kind of a way to share this in a public setting,
Mm-hmm.
um, is something that I wanted to do because I've not done something like that before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also to reduce my ums. I probably need to be more aware of how often I do that.
How often you do what? Sorry.
Say ums.
Oh.
Like fill I'm filling the space with I'm starting to notice you just said
Mhm, mhm. No, no, no,
and
no. It just proves we're not robots.
we
Even
are
though
not.
now, actually
We're
now AI does like audio does insert filler words. So, but
Oh,
that
does it? Oh man.
again, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, AI. That
It's
could be
yeah.
that's
Oh
multiple
yeah.
episodes,
Yes,
AI.
yes, yes. Yeah.
But
And
yes, as
yeah,
far as goals,
yeah,
just a
yeah.
super, personal one of being able to
Mm,
just speak out loud about thoughts and
mm-hmm,
ideas, which sounds kind of
mm-hmm,
silly, but it's true.
mm-hmm,
But then also to kind of a bigger goal is to make some changes locally with
mm-hmm,
how devices are handled, in school and out of school with
mm-hmm,
families. I know we'll talk about this more, but the wait until eighth pledge,
mm-hmm,
that's something I kind of recently became fired up about, if
mm-hmm,
you will, because I'm not. going to give my kids a screen. The wait until eighth pledge is, not agreeing not to give your kids smartphones until at least the end of eighth grade. And hopefully other parents do the same so that they have kids that they can play with that aren't just sitting on their iPads and watching whatever they watch as, elementary school kids. So those are probably my two goals: get my thoughts and feelings out and affect some change locally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I have similar goals as well, both on the personal level. I think you and I share that in common in many ways, that I likewise would very strongly identify as a listener. I am a writer. I like to slowly process my thoughts and kind of carefully curate how I want to say what I'm feeling, and often then decide that, oh, I don't want to share that, and not have to. Whereas
Right.
speaking and podcasting, like, we're doing it in real time. And I think that I mean, I know that it is a great practice for both of us, and that we will grow through this. So
Yes.
excited about that. And also, like, in my professional way as well, I am very passionate about finding ways to make my research, my scholarship, like, public and accessible. That was, I talked about how I left my master's program initially because it really was just like, this is such a niche, like, academic scholarly space that just, I don't know, I couldn't find my place within that. And I realized part of that is because, like, well, I don't know, I guess that's something I still need to unpack a bit more, but just I like the idea of being able to, distill some of the research that's out there, or tackle some of these more complex topics, and discuss it and bring it together in a real way, an approachable way, and connecting it, of course, with our lives as moms. And for me as a new mom, certainly lots of things that I'm thinking about. Obviously, with a 5-month old, I'm already, of course, thinking about screen use and what that's going to look like down the road. But it also, it's just, we're
Right.
in different stages of this whole little journey. So I'm rambling now. I've lost my train of thought. The next thing on our outline is fears and concerns, and I think
I
I've
know
just
we
gotten to
kind of
some of mine, but
incorporated that
we've
together.
incorporated it. Makes sense. But yeah, I'd say just that, the vulnerability of it, I think, is something that
Yes.
I makes me like, ooh, but also I'm excited for the challenge. And I guess too, with that, like, I often find myself having a hard time. Like, I'm not always the most opinionated person. I'm often very easily swayed. Like, I'll read one book
Same.
and be like, yeah, yeah, anxious generation, wait until eighth. But then you could easily hand me something else. I'm like, oh, good point. Maybe we should. So I think that's
Yes.
also good for me to, just to figure out, what am I, adamantly opinionated on, adamantly passionate about, and where is there still space to explore the nuances, and to, you know, see where it's okay to hold multiple opinions, but let's just talk through it, and work through that, if that makes sense.
It completely makes sense. And I relate to that so much because I will do the same thing. I'll read, an article surrounding this topic. I'm like, yes, okay, doing that. That makes sense. And then I read an opposing one, like, this is why this is bad. I'm like, oh no, I made the wrong
Uh-huh.
choice. So yeah, being able to figure out what do I actually feel strongly about, and knowing that it's also okay to change your mind. Like,
Mm-hmm.
one particular thing I'm thinking about related to this is like schools being one-to-one. When I
Mm-hmm.
first started in education, like, oh, this is awesome. Every kid gets an iPad or Chromebook or whatever it is. That's great. And now, with being a parent, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know that I feel good about
Mm-hmm.
that because of all, even locked down, supposedly locked down devices, there's still so much you can access that isn't a good idea. So that's part of all, yeah, thinking about fears and concerns,
Mm-hmm.
having an opinion about something and feeling so strongly one way, and then having to walk that back based on new information that you find
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
So I completely relate to but I read this and
Yeah.
now I feel this way.
Uh-huh.
But then I read this other thing and I
Uh-huh.
feel differently. So
Hmm.
yeah,
But I think
totally there.
I think it's called being human. I think it's called
Oh,
empathy. So I think
is that what that is?
maybe we'll stay tuned. We'll find out. But I look forward to listening back to this episode like many episodes from now because we're doing it. This is going to be a
Yes,
thing, and
it
then
is a thing.
seeing how our thoughts are changing through time and all that beautiful stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
love it.
love it too. Let's see, who is this podcast for? I guess if you've made it to this point, who do you imagine our audience might be besides your mom and my
I was
dad?
gonna say besides our moms and dads. Um, hopefully, I mean, more than just I would think it's moms,
Mm-hmm.
but moms and
Yeah.
parents,
Yes.
caregivers,
Yes.
um, anybody who thinks about, hey, is this a good idea to have a young child, a middle school child, high school child spending this much time or having access to a device? Like, is this a good idea? I don't know how I feel about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really who I'm thinking of. Because those are the conversations I'm still having. I'm talking to high school and junior high families and talking about screen time because it's impacting their ability to focus and study. And so talking to those parents while at the same time having my soon to be kindergartner talking to moms
Mm-hmm.
at the park and library and school events and whatever about screens are scary. There's so much that they can access. What do we do about this? So I kind of have these two, you know, bookends of ages that I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking with families. And so I think if I'm having these conversations just myself, then I know it's happening on a much bigger scale. So I guess that's who I would think it's for. And
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
educators, fellow
Absolutely.
educators,
Yeah. Parents, educators, anyone who cares about kids, which is
probably a
most
lot of
anyone.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone who worries about the future,
Yeah, yeah.
anyone who identifies as part of the anxious generation. Yeah, yes,
Oh,
we are.
yeah,
But
definitely.
speaking of the anxious generation, our next episode is gonna. Uh-oh, what just happened here? Sorry. Can you hear me? Are we
I
good?
can. You're good.
Because, yeah, irony of irony, we are recording this through Zooms. I've got like multiple devices here with all sorts of
Yeah,
technology happening. But anyway, next episode, we're hoping to start diving into, I think, one of the biggest, like, kind of the main takeaway from Jonathan Haidt's The Anxious Generation is that shift from play based to phone based childhood, what that looked like in our
yes.
lives, how we see it now, and can we trend away from that shift and what might that look like?
Let's turn it around. You and me. Let's go.
Let's do it. You in my little ghost Zoom window that's also open.
Yes. Oh my
And
gosh.
Cabbage too, because he is still
Yeah.
meowing back there because he's trapped in this room with me. So
Thank you for joining us, Cabbage. We appreciate your support.
I should add Oscar is too. My other cat Oscar is also in the room, but he's a much quieter boy. So
Well, we
what you gonna
appreciate your silence, Oscar.
do? Anyway, any final thoughts? How do we get out of this thing?
We just end it. We just say, that's it. We're
That's
done.
it.
Thanks
Cue
for
Brian's
listening.
awesome music. Yep. Thanks for
Boo boo.
listening.